All right, so we've got another update here for the Michigan sign stealing saga. You can see in this clip of the 2022 Michigan versus Ohio State game, you can watch Connor Stalions talk to Jesse Minter. Then Jesse Minter talks into his headset, and then you can see someone next to Jesse hold up a sign. It happens on the next play, too. So this is a zoom-in look at what was happening. So you can see C.J. Stroud. Right to CJ Stroud's left, like what we're looking at right now, that is Stalions, the supposed cheater. And then on his right, on CJ Stroud's right, you can see it is Jesse Minter, the defensive coordinator now. Stroud claps his hands. They don't run a play. He looks to the sideline, and you can see Stalions intently, like look at his face, dude. He is like binoculars looking at Ohio State signs to see what they're going to be running. He tells it to Minter, and then you can see all of the Michigan players, who I'm sure were probably in on this, probably overheard Stalions after stealing the Ohio State signs because the Buckeyes were changing a play, point up like, oh, it's a pass or it's a run or whatever it was going to be. And listen, I'm not saying this is 1000%, oh, he stole them, but it seems blatantly obvious there's something going on. And also the idea that this low-level staffer who's supposedly a recruiting analyst, right? Wasn't that his title? He's a recruiting analyst, yet he's on the sideline right next to Jim Harbaugh and Jesse Minter on critical third downs in the biggest game of Michigan's year, probably at that point the biggest game in Jim Harbaugh's career at Michigan outside of the playoff game against Georgia. So this is just so remarkable. And again, guys, the idea, yes, if Michigan was able to steal the signs against Ohio State on the field, that's perfectly fine. It's perfectly normal. This reminds me a lot of the Houston Astros situation. You can steal the signs that the catcher is giving in baseball, but you can't use electronics to do it. You can steal signs in football, but you cannot go to opponents' games, sit at their 50-yard line, record the entire sideline, all of their signs with a video camera as a so-called recruiting analyst, which was his title, and then tell the Michigan coaching staff the exact signs during the game on critical third downs. At least it seems like Michigan, once again, caught red-handed. And, Michigan fans are you can see this is also going around. Is this like the Ohio State signs? I don't really know. I don't think it really matters because there's just so much already out there. And more is coming with this whole thing where supposedly we're going to get more security video on Michigan and Stalions going to the opposing teams' games, both Ohio State, Penn State, apparently a lot other Big Ten teams involved in this as well. And it's so unique because it's like Michigan fans, they're clearly trying to cope. They're clearly in denial at this point. They'll probably get into the anger phase soon. This is all perfectly normal. It's all healthy. This is kind of what happens. It's just so demoralizing if you are a Michigan fan because this is literally being ripped out right from you. And it's not even like, it's not a game. It's not like you lost to Ohio State or you lost to Penn State. This is all happening in real time. And obviously, this goes beyond like, oh, Michigan defrauded Ohio State. They defrauded all these Big Ten teams. This is even bigger than that because with the amount of betting that is being promoted right now in the world of college football, you've got people who were betting on Ohio State minus the 7 last year. They were betting on Penn State losing money because Michigan is blatantly cheating and recording the sidelines of opposing teams and knowing and understanding the signs. And then remember, the original excuse by Michigan fans was, oh, he's just a low-level staffer. He didn't know Harbaugh. And then they find pictures of him right next to Harbaugh in the biggest games of the year. Isn't that just remarkable? And he's literally talking to the defensive coordinator on critical third down saying, let me look over, let me use my binoculars to see Ohio State's changing their play. They've got the signs up. This is what they're going to run. And then you see all the Michigan players behind point up. Oh, we know the play. Again, that is legal. Absolutely. If they were stealing signs legally to where they just picked up on a cadence Ohio State was doing, that would 100% be legit. But you cannot go to the opposing team's stadiums and just sit there with a video camera like a weirdo and just film the sideline for 3 straight hours as the game unfolds, which it seems like that's what happened. And that's why we're trying to get the evidence of Stalions doing this. According to the Big Ten, teams are submitting their security cameras of him potentially doing this in the stands. That would be crazy to see. Very awkward and very, quite honestly, pathetic to look at. But now the NCAA is known for moving at a snail's pace, but this could be different with the Big Ten potentially getting involved. Would Michigan possibly be banned from competing in the Big Ten championship? Would they receive a bowl ban before we get to December when the college football playoff is taking place? Or are they just going to let this entire season play out and then say, oh, we're retroactively going back and potentially bowl banning Michigan, taking away all of their wins for the last 3 years? The working theory right now is that, Jim Harbaugh, coming off that horrible 2-4 pandemic year, he got desperate. They implemented a system, and obviously it worked out very well for them. They were very successful, but it has seemingly come crashing down. None of this is confirmed. We're going to have to see. But when you piece all of it together with the help of technology, very similar to the Houston Astros and the banging on the trash cans and hearing it, it is a situation where, what would be my expectation for a punishment? I would say, obviously, Harbaugh's gone for sure. He'll probably go to the NFL, but I don't even know if he'll, after a scandal like this, I'm not even sure if he's going to be coaching there, but he's going to be gone. Michigan's going to have all of their wins vacated from the last 2 years, maybe even more, but certainly post the pandemic year where they went 2-4, they're going to have both their Ohio State wins vacated. Ryan Day will be 1-0 against Michigan, and this is just a situation where if you are the NCAA and the Big Ten, you just can't allow this. There has to be a heavy penalty for it. Especially with the proof, people are going to feel even more outraged. The only way you could get out of this if you are Michigan is by potentially somehow saying, well, he didn't go to the games. Obviously, sign stealing is allowed. If you're looking at the other sideline and you know what they're, you've picked up on their cadence, you can do that. Absolutely. That's kind of the argument Michigan fans are going to make. But the problem is he systematically recorded the sideline of games that Michigan was not involved in. He got seats strategically at the 50-yard line and recorded the entire sideline. That is 1,000% illegal. You cannot do that. He is on Michigan staff. And the other thing to where it reeks, he's listed as a recruiting, whatever, insider or whatever, helper, coordinator, and then he's on the sideline. So a recruiting analyst is going to be on the sideline on third down talking to the defensive coordinator when Michigan has one of their biggest third downs of the year in the first quarter against Ohio State in an undefeated matchup, and the recruiting coordinator gets to call the shots and tell the defensive coordinator what to do based off of something Ohio State, shows in terms of their signs when they changed the play. Guys, this thing reeks, it smells, it's disgusting, and it is unfortunate for Michigan. And if you are a Michigan fan, it's impossible to react to something like this because it's not like you got blown out by Ohio State. You didn't get blown out by Penn State. You are watching your team get ripped to shreds and they're not on the field. So how do you really do this? How do you reconcile it? It is very hard for sure. And again, you can see some different things. You can see Connor Stalions ended up deleting his profile there when it comes to Venmo. So apparently he got caught giving money to another Michigan assistant to go ahead and spy on Georgia and Ohio State in their Peach Bowl game. Probably more so Georgia, considering at that point they already had Ohio State signs. There is also the thought that Ohio State was privy to this and they changed their signs pre the Michigan game. And even if you want to try and argue it, it doesn't matter what you're doing in terms of trying to steal the signs was illegal. The way you were getting that information was illegal. Even if Ohio State did change their signs and then lose anyways, none of that matters. You cannot obtain the signs the way Michigan did. Either way, it is illegal. So that is why I would expect a pretty heavy punishment if this does come out and it is true. And again, with the way technology is, we're going to have a bunch of different videos, I'm sure. The big enchilada to me is getting Connor Stalions on a 3-hour loop in the lower bowl of one of these games, preferably at Ohio Stadium or Beaver Stadium, where he's got his camera out and they do a 3-hour time lapse and he's just recording the entire sideline. That's going to be it. That's going to be the end of it. That's going to be the death blow. And then if that comes out, let's say they make that public soon, the NCAA is going to be forced to do something to Michigan immediately. You're not going to be able to let's wait till the end of the season. if you are able to make this public, like the video of him doing this public, it's done. You're going to have to immediately bull ban them. Maybe the Big Ten will act first and ban them from the Big Ten championship if this turns out to be true and we get security video of Stalions sitting with a video camera recording Ohio State sideline, Penn State sideline, whoever other team they wanted to in the Big Ten. You would think it would really only be Ohio State and Penn State. You know, last year I'm trying to think maybe Michigan State as well, but they weren't very good. The year before they were good. But either way, guys, this is a pretty crazy situation. It is still developing, and we will have to see what comes of it. We're getting more information every single day. Either way, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you're following me on X. Link to that's always in the description.